Can you hear me?
Sure.
Test, test.
Yeah, we got audio.
You do?
Test, test, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2.
I think we should have hired Doc's company to
For lighting?
do this up with the lighting and the big screen. How much would it set us?
Test, test, 1,
Jerry's
2.
going to talk
test.
about financials for a while.
So you may want to sit in the middle.
There's nobody here.
I don't know if I want to.
Test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test,
This one.
test.
So we got Wi-Fi in there? Yes.
All right, folks, we're waiting for one of our last board of directors to show up. She's stuck in traffic. I'm not going to tell you who that board of director is, but she is stuck in traffic right now, and she will be here soon. So once we get her set up here, we'll go live. So just hang on there, folks. We'll be started in a few minutes. I really want to know why the Opel GT is not 10 points. I think it should be 10 points.
I disagree. It's at least a 7-point car. 7 points.
7 points will work.
7 points.
We can do a lot with 7 points.
You know, I hear there's a petition for next year to adjust the points on the Opel GT.
Yeah,
to 7 points, and I think I'm in favor.
I think so. I don't know who's running an Opel GT right now.
This just in, I'm driving an Opel GT next year.
Oops! Oh, this was on. Darn it. Yeah, that was probably really unprofessional, but it's all right. It's been a really long day.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go like this.
All right, folks, this is Bill Strong, and welcome to Inside Champ Car, and we are going to start our Board of Directors yearly meeting here at NCM Motorsports Park. I'm going to hand this over to Mike Chiswick, who is the Champ Car CEO. Mike?
I don't know if Mike's on or not. We're just going to talk like it is.
You just talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Chiswick, CEO Champ Car. With me tonight at our 2018 annual board meeting, I have our treasurer, Jerry Anger, Bruce Mills, I have Rich Sonato, I have our secretary, Doc Waldrop, and I have Tiffany Alexander. Tonight, Phil McKinney could not be with us. He is back home with families, so he will be joining us live with the rest of you. Thank you to those of you who actually showed up here tonight to at least watch something, right? Have something to drink. Those of you online, got any questions, send those in to Bill as we get going here. So without further ado, I guess Doc says I'm supposed to say this meeting is now officially in session.
All right, hold on a second.
And maybe it's not.
You start filling.
Yes, technical difficulties.
Do a little soft shoot for you.
So the purpose of tonight's meeting is...
Yes, very good. Bruce has a good point. So while Bill is trying to get himself back together before we start our slide, oh good, he's good. Purpose of tonight's meeting, like once a year, the board meets publicly. Everybody is invited to come. You can also follow online. We talk about the previous year, the highs and lows from the previous year. We talk about our financials from that year and our goals going forward into the upcoming season. Also, we have collected petitions that all of you got to see emailed out to you. We've got comments, and we will go over the board votes for those tonight, and finally at the end take any questions anybody has. So, get started. For those who maybe just new to part of the family here, you maybe have not been racing with us for the 8 to 10 years we've been around here. You may be kind of wondering what we do. Champ Car offers amateur non-licensed, average Joe drivers, people, actually not even drivers when you join us, people a chance to come join into the fun and get on track and race wheel to wheel. And you may not have any clue what you're doing. Matter of fact, as we've seen, you don't. But you will learn trial by fire. And I have watched many a person come from from nobody to a really expert wheeler, and they've gone on to do some bigger things. And so that's why we're here. We are here to provide you that opportunity to have fun and learn. Because of why we're here, we like to say that our target market is the non-experienced, the amateur, the novice, never been driving adults. So we welcome a lot of pro drivers that come join with us. They race to kind of hone their skills, keep them up in between their money-making activities. But our target, who we're trying to go after, are the amateurs, guys who didn't think they could do it. And that's what we target our rules for. That's what we target our marketing for. So if you ever think why we're not going after Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's because that's really not what we're here for. There's not a lot of Dale Jr.'s in the world, but there's a lot of average Joes working 9 to 5. So that's why we're here. So as we grow, it takes a lot to put on a successful event. We could just rent a track and turn you guys loose, let you go out there and run around, not really deal with anything, make sure that we throw a checkered flag at the end of the day, but we want to make sure that you have as professional experience as possible. The kind of standards that you see set on television when you watch IMSA or NASCAR. And it takes a lot of people to do that. And so we have a very large and growing staff that does all sorts of things. You see them when you're coming in the parking lot, helping you get set up with registration. You see them in timing and scoring when you have a problem with the transponder, tech inspectors that tell you that you're lying, that you actually do have that cheater part on your car. All these people that make it work. And then we've got our ChampCar.live person. He is full-time with us. I am full-time, and Mr. Dana Morrison are full-time. And so when you have questions and you email us, you send us messages on Facebook, we can get back to you as fast as possible within the hour. Many people will find that we respond in minutes to get you up to date and take care of you. And say hello to these people at the track. Thank them for what they do. With the exception of us 3 full-timers, they're all part-timers. They're doing this on their little spare time they've got in their life. All right. Let's get started.
In the world, change is inevitable. 8 years ago, ChampCar changed the rules of racing. Rules that said that racing was a hobby for the rich and the price of entry had to be high. But ChampCar changed those rules forever by leading the way in making entry into road racing simple and affordable. Today, after over 200 ChampCar events coast to coast and turning thousands of former spectators into drivers, ChampCar is changing things again. To better match the level of racing and professionalism drivers experience with us, we've adopted a new name. ChampCar World Series is now ChampCar Endurance Series. The vision of ChampCar is to continue to provide an affordable racing experience to everyone. No previous experience requirements, no expensive training sessions. If you've got a dream and a car, you can race. We hope you're as proud of our new name and look as we are. While our name and logo may have changed, the clean racing and tight finishes, as provided by you, remain unchanged. With your support, we will continue to grow into the next decade and spread the fun of affordable endurance racing to thousands of other average Americans just like you and me.
Many of you remember that from last fall. We decided it was a good way to kick off the marketing talk about what we do. That was a pretty big investment last year. Those of you who looked at the financials, which Jerry will talk about soon, will note that we paid over $20,000 to reinvent our name and look. So that's kind of centers where we wanted to go. We had moved. There was nothing wrong with the old name per se. A lot of guys were endeared to it, but we heard from enough people that would say they're going racing this weekend, but they didn't say they're going racing with ChampCar. They just subtly embarrassed. So we felt that the name change would represent the kind of effort we were putting into the club with the events, and provide a more professional name for them to talk about. And sure enough, people are telling their coworkers and neighbors that I'm racing with ChampCar this weekend. A single vowel has made all the difference in people speaking to others about what we do. And since one of the goals this year we'll get into was to advance our market and find new racers, that was the first stepping stone, which is why last fall, new name, new logo, to kick off 2018. Also last year, we saw the growth of ChampCar.live. Mr. Doc will get you up to speed with all the improvements and things we did in 2018, or 2017, I should say.
Yeah, I think it's performed better than any of our expectations. We get a lot of viewers, a lot of comments. I myself am on, I kind of monitor the Facebook side of things. Bill and Paulie do the YouTube side of things. I think YouTube's probably a better broadcast, but I think Facebook reaches a lot more people, I believe. So Bill does the interviews. He's great on pit road. Tiffany occasionally joins us, hopefully this weekend. So it's a lot of fun. I hope it's bringing value to our racers. We try and cover the whole field. It's kind of hard when there's 128 cars at Daytona to cover everybody. But we do run through the race order. We also give exposure to our official sponsors. So I think it's performed very, very well, and I look for it only to grow. Bill's constantly researching new ways to reach things, new technology for us. The biggest thing, I think the biggest hurdle that we have is when we get to a track on test day, everything's fine. But then Saturday morning, everybody powers up their GoPros and the signal, it's just, you can see the pole bending towards the track. So, but anyway, I hope everybody's tuning in. Follow us on Facebook, or if you go to YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. We're getting dangerously close to having a representative from YouTube, if not already, work with us to increase that viewership. So we get, we're almost legitimate, Bill.
I heard a teenager say we've got respectful numbers. That's pretty impressive from a teenager.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right.
I just went off.
While not necessarily our own efforts, we benefited from the fact that NBC Drive, their YouTube channel, they had this whole series on things you can do with a cheap car, and they used an E30. And they went rallying, and they did. I didn't see all the episodes.
They did rallies and autocross.
Autocrosses, that's right. Yeah. The last thing they did, they wanted to do endurance racing, and in December of 2016, they joined us at Barber and ran their car there. And they had such a great time, they contacted Bill and said, we want to do a full show on your 24-hour race at VIR. So they came out for that event, and they had a great time. They were successful. They blew a tire at the end of the race, and so it was on camera. Their checker flags waving. They're backing down pit road because they couldn't quite finish the race. But great group of guys. They had a good time, and as far as I know, they are looking to come back and try again. So that's more, it benefits us that more people are seeing it, that the Drive subscribers are seeing, hey, what's this thing called ChampCar these guys are doing? And they look us up and they join our ranks. along those lines, Discovery Channel. So everybody who has a camera comes out and they send us emails constantly and they say, hey, we want to do a TV show and you guys, do we have permission? And every time it's like, sure, well, I'll meet you at this track, whatever. And maybe a guy shows up, maybe somebody talks big, but nothing comes of it. A gentleman from Discovery Channel, or not from Discovery Channel, a gentleman who had his own production company, he came out to Laguna Seca at multiple events, and he films, and he did interviews, and he put together an actual pilot. He sent it to me, he says, what do you think? I said, I think it looks good. He sent it to Discovery Channel. He bought the TV time with his own money. We helped him get some sponsors to help offset some of those costs for the commercials. And it ran, and it did exceptionally well. We got the feedback from Discovery Channel that, you know, we're talking 5 a.m. Sunday morning here, so we're not doing like,
Hey, we were competing with Formula One.
It wasn't going to do that. But for that time slot, Discovery was blown away. They said it outperformed anything they'd had put on before, and they want more. So there will be a season 1 to endurance racing, focusing on, it's not on us. You're not going to see the Champ Car staff in there like Duck Dynasty. It's about the drivers, and he has contacted and will be following a couple of teams and their builds, their efforts, the stuff on track. So it's good for us. Again, doesn't cost us anything. We just work with him, and you know, it's only benefits the club. We added a sim series for 2018. I don't know how that stuff started, Doc.
Well, it started, RJ Till, actually, the Chattanooga Touring Wagon, Messerschmitt, or whatever they're calling themselves nowadays. We were getting together on Thursday nights just as a group. And I opened my big mouth, which happens often. I mentioned it to Mike, and he said, well, that's a great idea. We ought to start a series. And it's like, so, and that was soon after I think we rebranded the company. So we put it together in like literally 2-3 weeks. We're racing on Thursday nights. We do a West Coast and an East Coast series. It's practice sessions, and we kind of follow the actual Champ Car schedule. So we're on a summer break right now because none of the tracks that we're actually racing at are on the iRacing series. So we'll start back in a couple of weeks in mid-July on VIR. And it's a lot of fun. We have over 220 members now. Now, the initial participation, we had like 40, 50 cars at night. It's since dropped off, and we expect that. But I think as the series grows and people get used to it, my phone. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. If you're into sim racing, come and join us. The Mike stepped up, or Champ Car stepped up, and at the end of the year, the winner of the championship, the last round of each practice session on a Thursday night is we have a championship round, and whoever is the overall champion at the end of the year gets a free entry into an actual Champ Car race. So I thought that was pretty generous of the series, and currently Wyatt's doing pretty dang good in that. But he's got some competition.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there. No, I think it's great. All right, we sent the financials out about a month ago, but we'll go over them again to talk about them today at our treasurer, Jerry Enger.
Yeah, it was difficult in 2017 because we really didn't have a coherent set of financials to start the year. So a lot of it was forensic accounting and trying to figure out what was what and taking physical inventories and reassessing where the numbers really should be versus the numbers that we inherited from the prior regime, which weren't completely reliable and they certainly weren't accurate. And so 2017, we did that. It was a lot of work. It's going to be a lot easier going forward. But at the end of the day, we have a good set of financials. The balance sheet's good. The P&L shows that while we had a good year, we came out $50,000 ahead as an organization. We need to try to do better than that going forward because you never know when Road America gets snowed out and you lose a bunch of money, or it also helps us or enables us to go west and maybe try to put more races on out in the West western part of the country where we're typically losing money in those races. But we want to keep trying to build a brand out there and get back what we lost a few years ago and truly be a national series. So we had a good year. We're $50,000 up for the year. The other thing that happened too is that we did, as Mike alluded to, spend money on rebranding and money on legal fees and money on accounting to get the numbers up to snuff to begin with. So all of that, those are mostly one-time expenses. I mean, we're still going to have some accounting expenses, but not like we had this first time. And the legal expenses, there'll be a little bit here and there, but not like we had the first time. There won't be the marketing recurrence. So if we have the same year next year, we'll be even in better shape than we were this year. We had 28 events last year. We lost money at 10 of them. We made money at 18 of them. And so that was good. And you know, the goal is we can't afford to take a bath at a lot of races. We can't afford to go out and do it here and there in order to grow the series. So yeah, the goal is to continue to bring racing nationwide and try to you know, as many as possible, try to keep each race in the black, or you know, at least to break even if we can. And I'll take questions on the financials if anybody wants to ask things, but we're in good shape now, and you know, I don't know what else to say to it other than that. We sold out 10 of our 28 events last year, which was good, and I think that we'll probably do something like that again this year. So,
Yeah, since the schedule is pretty much identical, the numbers should come out the same or better. I mean, that's the goal.
Are participation numbers up a little?
Well, we've got those here, actually. I love it. See, something that gets us talking about this stuff. So, there's the sheet right there. Participation numbers are up and the events that people like, but participation numbers are about the same for the events that people aren't interested in. We call that driven by bucket list tracks. Everybody wants to run Watkins Glen. Everybody wants to run Daytona. We're trying to get people to come out and do events at the other great tracks. This track here this weekend, National Corvette Museum Motorsports Park, phenomenal facility. We really believe in it. This is why we made it our national championship this year. I still talk to people and I say, hey, you're going to run NCM. And they say, oh, no, that track's boring. I said, oh, did you run it? And they said, no, I've never driven it. I've just seen pictures of it. I mean, how can you judge a track without being on it? Because when people come here, they love it. Yeah. So we're investing our efforts and our monies to try and get people's interest up in other tracks besides the bucket list ones. We know those that do well. And you know, the financials show those events sell out or just about, and they do well for us. And that really carries us to the bad ones. But we'd like to have a more even distribution of racers throughout everything.
And I track the average attendance by race over the last 3 or 4 years, I believe. Yeah. I don't have that with me here, right, but it has gone up every year. Do you have that?
With less events.
I have a question.
Okay.
Redneck VTech asks, is the participation improving in the West? Are we making an impact with our investment in these loss leader events?
So the West, let's address it right now. Everybody knows kind of what it's doing, because you can go on a weekend and turn on Race Monitor and see what any club has for a race anywhere in the country, whether it's autocross or endurance or sprint racing. You know what they've got. And while most people outside the industry don't understand exactly the costs involved in running an event, when you see a group has 12 cars, you can pretty much assume there's no money to be had there. Likewise, when we put 120 on Daytona, that's a really good weekend. So the West went downhill for, at the time, ChampCar. Many things happened. We won't get into all those issues here. And attendance went down. By the time I took over here, made some changes, some personnel. A lot of our members had been burned personally and were bitter about it and had no intention of racing with us. And so what we've had to do, instead of trying to tell people out west, hey, we're different, trust us, come give us a second chance, we decided that we are going to pursue new racers. Instead of trying to get a bigger piece of the pie, I want to make the pie bigger. And we're finding whole new people, racers that didn't exist, going back to what our target market is, and teaching them about what we do, getting them excited, getting them interested, building cars, and coming back. And so attendance was low last year. We've seen a little uptick so far this year. A couple extra cars at Sonoma. Thunderhill was a new track for us this year under this administration. Only had 15 cars, but I had at least half of those were first-time teams, and they were thrilled. So I believe that our seeds of effort are just starting to take root. I think it's still going to be a rough year out west. I'm not going to lie to anybody. We're going to lose money on all of them, probably. But I believe that by 2019, the numbers will be going up. I believe Sonoma is going to be one that gets from the red to the black in 2019, because that's the third year we'll be there on the exact same date. We already got the date for Sonoma, and people are having fun with it, and they'll tell their buddies and come out. So we're not going to run blind forever. If we go another year and we don't have an improvement again, then we as a board have to reevaluate whether we keep putting into it. But the current plan is on track, and it's slow progress, but it's progress.
Okay, that was Chris Huggins, by the way, that asked that question.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, of the 10 tracks that we lost money, or 10 race events we lost money on last year, 6 of them were in the West. So that's not good. And the problem with the $50,000 income, it sounds good, right? But one really bad weekend could have wiped that out. And what happens when the economy turns? And the racers, if we lose even 5% of our racers, we're in trouble. So we can't continue to lose money out there. But we're trying. As long as we can be profitable elsewhere, we're going to keep going back and, I think for a while at least, and try to get those numbers back up again. It's a hard recovery. It's not easy. But like I said, as long as we can keep doing well in other places, it gives us the ability to go back out there and try again and try again. So sign up for Utah. Come on, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, in Auto Club, you're running the Roval this year, so I think your participation numbers at that event will be up as well, especially if you get the word out.
So.
And I'll look down to Bill at that. But
What?
Yeah,
What?
Get the word out. That's your job.
I mean, the Roval, we actually practiced on it at an SVRA. We went out for a one-day test, and it's amazing. That is an awesome track.
I got one final note to add too. We forecast about 53 teams per race so far this year, and we did 62. So we're off to a really good start in 2018. Unfortunately, that's not all translated out to the West, but
We're a national company, club, series, whatever you want to call it. And so I never want to step back and tell somebody that, hey, the guys out east are carrying the load for guys out west. It doesn't work that way. We're doing well, we're doing not well, whatever. It's one country. And I know that we'll have events out west soon that will be full and guys having a great time, and they're going to have the same kind of car counts and exciting racing that they've seen us have out on the East Coast. And just take some patience. I've got it, and just need everybody else to trust that we're doing what we can to get it back up. All right, so we've kind of talked about all these things. The other interesting thing, I guess, you're talking about how financials were affected. I haven't seen weather like we had last year and into the beginning of this year. Unbelievable. So things are going well, and like Jerry mentioned, we set estimates for a year coming forward. We have to, we got to know how many people do we think are going to attend. Is it worth going to this track? And if based on the number of people thinking attend, how many staff members do I have to book for this? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. And we've got a lot of history to track. We've gone to Sebring in September since our very first year. It's one of our most popular events. Usually we'll do about 90 to 100 cars. So last year we were on track for that. And then hurricane. What was the name of that hurricane, Dana?
I don't know. We have so many. I can't remember.
Yeah, Florida, right?
Porsche, black Porsche. It's
It is. Is it yours?
It's gotta get moved.
it's not mine. It's my boss's.
I gotta move yours too.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll move it.
You'll move it? It's not the Mustang.
You get the Porsche, and I'll be back in about 20 minutes. 20?
We haven't seen.
Or an hour.
So this hurricane comes through, and all of a sudden my email lights up, and I've got everybody saying, I've lost power, my shop came blowing down, it crushed my car, we can't do anything. And so I lost 25, 30 entries in a couple of days. We didn't even know if the event's going to happen. The track had lost power, nobody was there answering the phone. People are calling me and they're mad, like, what are you doing? You're not announcing anything. Well, it's not like I'm sitting home eating Cheetos watching cartoons. I'm calling them 3 times a day, emailing them, knowing that they themselves don't have power and they're the ones living in the trouble, and I have power up in North Carolina. So we eventually get through, and they said, a little bit of damage, but the track can handle you. So we had the race. People sent me flack and said, how dare you hold a race when people are suffering and hurting down there? And I got the guys show up and said, thank God you guys held this race. I need something to go right in my life. Thank you for having the race. So, you know, it was a little break for them. We had a lower car count because of that weather, but we still made money and had a great time. This year, without any hurricane, God willing, we're back up to our normal numbers there. We follow that up and go into December, and Barber, this is Alabama.
Tiffany, what's the weather like in Alabama?
What is this white stuff? We don't
Yeah,
know.
it's the picture for those of you can see. That's Barber the day we were there. It's
You're in the race.
we drive down on Thursday, and it's like it's gorgeous,
70 again.
sunny, 70.
72.
It's great. Someone says, "Well, there's a chance for snow."
You drove on the wrong day.
So I get up and look at the hotel window in the morning, and I see snow, thick snow. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And we go hang out at the museum, the staff, you know, passing time.
There's nothing else.
Still blizzarding. People are calling, panicking. I can't get on my driveway. You got to cancel this event. We have the event because the sun came out, the track was dry, and it was a great time. There was some great videos posted. The guys going off in the snow and playing Jingle Bell music. You know, we had a few. We lost some cars, but we still made money at that one. It was a good time. You know, at the same time, the other side of the country, I've got Laguna Seca, which is normally a good event, and we had the wildfires running through California, and I had guys call and email me and says, we got to pull out because they've evacuated the homes in the area, that the fires are too close, we can't race. So, you know, and that's a narrow margin race as it is, so when a couple of guys cancel, it swings us from black to red. But, you know, we still have the race. We thought we were out of it, and we get into this year. It's cold, a little bit snow on the ground up in Road America, but we call Monday, and they say, no, we're good, we're fine, we got to take care of the track, we'll have the race, great. Tuesday, someone from the forum flips out and says, the race is canceled. Now, that's how I find out about it. And so we call the track, and like, we're having a meeting now, nothing's official. An hour later, they said, we got to pull the plug, safety reasons. So here it is, 3 days from the race, and we have to tell everybody that signed up and made travel arrangements that the track's under 12, 15 inches of snow, we can't race. It hadn't happened, I don't know, ever? The first year we went there was some snow, but they were able to clear it. And it wasn't a blizzard, but never had to lose one to Road America. But I'm hoping that the worst is behind us, and it is smooth sailing from now on. But that stuff impacts the club financials. You know?
Old schools, a couple of guys shifted their entry from Road America, came down to Charlotte. Right?
Yeah, because we were running the same weekend. You were one of them, yeah.
Yeah, Elon. Yeah.
And had a good race there. So it's the stuff we got to roll with. You know, if we were in an indoor indoor racing, we wouldn't have to worry about it. All right, what is this doing here? All right. Goals going forward. One of the first things we want to do is, this says stable and repeatable dates. This does not talk about our schedule because most of you know that we've raced with us. Most of our events are they work on clockwork. You don't even know what we're doing next year, but you know what we're doing next year. I've got guys booking hotel rooms and they leave Daytona and Sebring and Road Atlanta because they can count on the fact we're going back. So that stuff I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the club operations. You know, recently we've had some trouble. There's some, what's the word for it? Uproar? Hoopla? I don't know. Upheaval?
Yeah.
When things change, it makes people really unnerved. So one of the goals is that we want to publish, call it a full calendar of when changes can and will happen. That's to say, when the board member election is every year. It's going to, nominations be the same time, and we do it at the same time, the election at the same time, and the being seated in January 1st. Right. That's going to be the same every year. When's the rule book coming out? Right. Same time every year. When our vehicle value changes, weight changes, those things coming out, same time every year. We want one time that there'll be changes, and everybody knows when that time is. And there'll be windows, and so you'll know that during these months, I can submit petitions for rule change. I can submit petitions for weight. You know, I can start working on campaigning for my next hope to get on the board of directors, whatever it may be. You know when your opportunities are, that when we'll accept it, and if it comes in after that, and we say we're not taking any more for this year, you can't get bent out of shape and say, well, where's that at? It's going to be published. And that is so that everybody's comfortable with what we're doing, and it helps us as a board because now we can plan our meetings saying, you know, for July, guys, we got to have a meeting to talk about the next thing. So That's one of the major goals going forward here, 2018. Event attendance kind of speaks for itself. We kind of mentioned some of these things. Obviously, we are pursuing new drivers, new members, people that get interested. Join the club, race with all of you guys, drive numbers up. If we have higher numbers, we actually can have a little bit of a safety net for bad events. We also can afford things like this weekend. We are buying dinner for everybody on Saturday night, so that's something that comes from having a successful positive cash flow. And that's kind of a never-ending goal every year, 18, 19, 20. There will always be a goal to drive attendance up. If you hear one of us say we're going to try and get attendance down, you should fire us. All right. I'm probably talking too fast, aren't I? I have a transcriptionist helping this evening. My lovely wife.
Who has not done this in 20-some years. So.
I hear lots of clicking, though. That's good.
Sweet baby, sweet baby Jesus.
No excuses.
There are some plans.
What you want?
I did.
Part of our rebranding, a new name, new look, we talked at the start of this year that we want to do more shows. People are always asking, like, hey, I got a show in my neck of the woods. You know, if you guys want to send me something, well, I'll put my car out there for you guys. And so we're doing that. We have a standard program that if you have a Staples near you, we'll call in an order there. You can drive over there, pick up the prepaid order. It has the postcards with the schedule on it and our couple pictures and kind of synopsis of what we are. And we even a poster board that you can put on the windshield of your car. And so you can take your car to a show and look semi-professional. And, you know, we've taken care of everything for you. And on our end, we've been sending, well, my wife and I have traveled, Bill Strong has traveled. We're going to larger shows that will cost money to enter and we're paying. And we are talking to people about what we do. The biggest one we've done this year was someone mentioned to us the Long Beach Grand Prix has a show. And so someone said, man, it would be awesome if you guys would go there. And so they sent me this information and I said, why not? So we invested. It wasn't cheap, but we invested in that show. Bill Strong went out there and the guys from Miata PI, what's the new name, Bruce? Alchemy. Alchemy Racing, changed their name. And that's their car that they generously donated there. And the turnout was phenomenal. Bill and the Alchemy Racing guys lost their voices. They ran out of business cards and postcards, and people, someone even tried to steal a poster. It wasn't for taking, but they just wanted to have something. Tons of people, as you can see, this guy's getting picture taken by. Bill has said, people are saying, hey, I used to drive one of those. I've got one of those. It wasn't like the $300,000, $500,000 sports cars that were there that they don't feel connected to like it ever drive. It's a Miata.
Porsche right across was getting less pictures than the Miata was. People would stop by and see the Miata and say, I had one of those. And even the kids were like, this is a real race car, not like that one. Which was pretty awesome.
Reach.
Yeah.
It is. They connected to it. And the feedback was extremely positive. And not just from the racers, but the operator of the show loved having us there. I was already talking about next year. She said, you guys got to come back, get a bigger booth next year. So we've invested in backdrops. You can see in the picture, we had some professional backdrops made. It's a small investment, but we've been reusing them. Right? Matter of fact, before I left, Andrew and I had to ship those things to another show up in Seattle, Washington, where a team is doing it for us. We're just passing around. And, there's a shipping cost there, but that's what our goal for this year was to, spread the word, get more people out. We want to digitize tech. We are a paper system, and it's not well liked. People want new stuff. They've got their laptops, their cell phones have gotten smaller. Why can't tech get more digital? So we hired a tech inspector recently. He also still works for another professional organization, one that pay drivers, He's their tech inspector, and he created a digital tech system for them that they use. He said, I can do that for you easy. So this year we're working on a prototype to start digitizing tech. We'll be doing it from a tablet. It'll all be online. It will integrate within registration. It will make it easier on you guys, the racers. It'll make it a whole lot easier on us as an organization. I don't know when it will be done. I'm not going to rush anything out that's haphazard, but I hope to have a prototype working for us by the end of the season. And I think the last goal we had for the year, self-sustaining club. So many clubs, not just ours, big, small, they survive with the energy, the personality, the drive of a single person, the person who founds it. And without that person, they wither and die. I did not found this club. I was a racer at first, a bad one, and then my driving wasn't bad. It was my car building wasn't too good. I ended up, because my car was broke a lot.
Oh, so you're like Bill.
Yeah, it could be, yes. Because I broke a lot, I got to volunteer a lot, and that's how I got in this position.
Wait.
We are currently a nonprofit that is member-owned. So I don't own this. None of us up here own this. And yet, putting 60 hours a week into it, you almost feel like it's yours. And a lot of the staff and members, you guys out there, send me emails and call me with stuff no matter where you are in the country. We need to make the club so that if I got hit by a bus, it can continue on just fine. That I don't have the only wealth of information for how tracks get scheduled and how do we start a race and where do we find these financials, that kind of stuff. It's got to be something that someone else can step in and keep going with. And so to that end, for 18 months, we worked. I would type things out. I'd send things to board members and back. I'd send them to staff members and back. And we went around and around. And finally, after 18 months, we have an actual operations manual. This is how the club does what we do. It's not fake thin. This is double-sided, by the way. And it's also not public. This is how, Krispy Kreme makes their donuts. This is how McDonald's makes burgers. It's proprietary and confidential, but it's there. And it means that whenever you go anywhere across country, you're going to get the same experience from Mike Morrison at Laguna Seca. You can get the same experience from Dana Morrison at Road America, and you get the same experience from me when you come into Daytona. It doesn't matter who's doing it. They've got their own personalities, and they may not treat you as nice as I do, because Dana's mean, but they're going to do things the same way. Registration the same, text the same. They're going to start the race the same way. They're going to handle the issues the same way. It's there, So that was a big goal of ours, and here we are finally in June, and we've got that done. It's always a living document. We will continue to amend and add to that, but it's a pretty big deal, and the board members have had a chance to look at this, and pleases them as well. So
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've had the fortune of being able to race all over the country and over the years because I live in Denver now, and so the races on the West Coast used to be dramatically different than, say, what you'd get at Road Atlanta or what you'd get at Road America, which is different again. And so now it seems like we're doing things the same way across the country. It's great. And best practices, which makes it even better. So things like the random starts and reversing order, just little things like that. Mm-hmm. And there's still things we got to improve on, but it's definitely coming in. So
yeah. All right. So all of that up to now, which I've been talking for 42 minutes.
Do we want to see if there's any questions about any of that from any of these guys?
We could, because we know all you're here for is petitions anyway. That's what everybody's waiting for. You're waiting for me to stop talking. Up until now, are there any questions? Because once we get into petitions, we want to hold questions to the end of the petitions. There's 46 of them. But does anybody out online or here have any questions about stuff we've talked about so far, or even outside of that? No. What, you? Yes.
Yes. So this
you? What, you?
So I was notified by a couple of members this weekend that they were watching the Formula One race in Canada.
What's Formula One?
Yeah, it's some other.
It's not ChampCar.
Some amateur series up north.
Amateur series.
After the race was over, Sky Sports feed was continued on while the American feed was cut off right there. Right after that, they went to a reporter talking to Michael Fassbender who won a Ferrari race that weekend and also, I believe, won a few Academy Awards or something. He's a big-time actor. And he starts talking about his racing, and he said he had raced at Daytona with Champ Car and how he loved it. It was the best racing series to get started in, and it's super cheap, and so he's going to be running at a soon-to-be, well, he said it publicly, Nelson Ledges. So,
Holy, all right, I'm gonna run them through.
yeah, so, and not only him, there's other folks that are racing that weekend too. So that was a lot of really good publicity worldwide for us. Email's been pretty good about it, so
Great.
that helped.
That's awesome.
And we're going to be interviewing them very soon. So
Here's the thing about celebrities. Most people don't know, members that drive with us, we have lots of professional drivers, celebrity people from Hollywood or music that drive with us. I'm aware of most of them, either because they contact me ahead of time or because Bill, that's what he does, he talks to them. I don't announce it. I think that they deserve a private weekend to have fun with a regular guy or girl and drive around. You don't know who they are because they got a helmet on. We don't talk them up and push them on our Facebook page or website. Guess who's racing for us? We're just a bunch of people having a good time, and they're welcome to go out and do it too. So do we think it's cool when they announce stuff like this? It's great. It's free publicity. We really appreciate the honest feedback, but we're never going to publicize their attendance to our events.
Except for Nelson Ledges.
well, he announced that. So.
Except for what Nelson said.
Of all tracks, he picked Nelson Ledges? Really?
Come on, Nelson Ledges is where all this started.
Yeah,
Man, I love it. I can't wait to get back on that track.
There was a show that they went to VIR, and that show was aired, I think it was a full hour show.
NBC Drive.
Yeah.
You were there, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my kid screamed when she saw me and Doc on the screen for like a millisecond. So, oh my God, you're really on TV.
Did they show you sleeping?
Funny.
I never saw that. That's somebody photoshopped.
Yeah. We're going to get you again, by the way. All right. We're going to get into petitions here. As you can see here, there were 46 petitions submitted, 15 different people. So it wasn't 46 people, 46 ideas. We have some people that have a lot of more ideas than others. No bad petitions, let's just say that. I really appreciate everybody submitting ideas. To me, it shows that members are engaged and passionate about what they do, that this is their club, that they want to see it improve, become safer and fair, and just grow larger. So I really like those, and hope we get to continue to get them in the future. 65 people sent me emails commenting on the petitions during the open period. Some of them were real simple. They would come down and they'd just go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. They might say one or two comments about something that stuck out to them. Others, I think one person here, I won't name him, not on this table, out there, sent me a 20-page Word document going over everything. It takes a long time to read this stuff. And we did read these things. You'll see as we get into this, I took selected comments from the emails that you sent. We added them to relevant topics here. But so we got some comments. Interestingly, some people emailed and they were in a panic. They said, I thought you said you're going to stabilize the rules, and I can't believe you're putting all these changes into effect. And it's like, it's a suggestion. It's not a rule change. And they're like, oh, okay. Anyway, so the board met took 3 weeks to go over all these petitions. We met an hour at a time at night. We're on 4 different time zones here. So trying to get everybody on the same page and get it done was difficult. We did it. The discussions were interesting. You'll see that a lot of times we voted with the members, sometimes we voted against, sometimes we really liked an idea and said no, and other times it's like, this is a terrible idea, but we said yes. And we'll get into reasons why as we get into this here.
Well, let me say, the other thing is the meeting minutes will be posted a couple of days from now. We haven't posted them as they happen, just so I guess we didn't steal the thunder of the annual meeting, as it were. So we have meeting minutes. We'll get them up there on the website. So.
Yes.
You. I especially didn't share them with you, Bill. You can't hold on information.
I think this one comment that was sent in. It was after this person had given me all his feedback, or had given us, because you guys sent them into board at ChampCar.com, so all of us got to read at the same time. He finished up with this: thanks for letting us add our 2 cents to make this league better, cleaner, safer, more transparent, and equal for most. You can't please everyone, and do not try, but we all agree some rules need cleaned up. I think that was a great attitude and a synopsis for what this process was. So at this point, I'm going to have the board members start to cover some of these, because we have a lot to do, and I've done too much talking tonight. Rich, you want to start off with the first one?
Sure thing. The first petition was in reference to black flags for cars not keeping up with the pace car. Most people that emailed us were for this. 17.
You want the whole thing up there? Yes, there you go.
17 for, 9 against. We discussed this as a board, and we voted no. This is part of our operations procedures. This is not a rule. This is up to the director's discretion. If the car is not keeping pace, he has the discretion to make something happen there. This is not something for our rule book, we felt. So.
Not all of us felt that way, but anyway.
Yeah. Every one of these wasn't necessarily a unanimous board decision, but none of them left anybody steaming angry or anything like that.
Well, one thing that happens too is there's different things at different tracks. Sometimes maybe we don't have a pace car, or the track mandates something. You can't set a set of rules for unilaterally across every single track, because all the organizations are different. And so it was one of those things where, well, of course we're going to try to keep the field bunched up, but we didn't want to set a rule for it and black flag somebody for it. So.
You want to do a couple, or you just want to pass it along?
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm going to need that.
Go for another one.
There is no way I can read this.
We'll pass the book down, Doctor.
You can turn around and look up there now.
Yeah, that's true.
The next petition was in reference to defining adjustable shocks. I think this petition specifically wanted to allow adjustable shocks if they had been modified so they were no longer adjustable. Am I correct? As a board, we voted no for this. Most people were obviously against it as well, from what you can see up here. Basically, we felt if they were adjustable once, they've been adjusted to where you want them, to be optimized, and you've gained the benefit of the adjustable shock. So we're not helping anybody by allowing that adjustable shock. So we have voted against that one.
The clause to that, though, would be that all of us for years have felt like the 75 points for an adjustable shock is quite draconian. So a new team shows up, it's got a pair of adjustable shocks maybe on the back only, a car they just bought, and there's 150 points on some 90 horsepower Civic that pretty much puts them over 500 for no good reason. So while there still should be a value, we as a board dropped the point value starting in 2019.
Okay, so the next petition was whether or not we should allow a 2.5-gallon surge tank instead of fuel cells. The members were, as you can see, 7 for, 22 against. So the other thing, a surge tank, because you have to shut off the master when you're in the pits, the surge tank only does you any good on the first pit stop. So this was fairly quickly dismissed by the board and given a no vote. The next petition was to limit fuel octane to 93 octane. Members were for it, 25, 6 against. As it says here, the board of directors supports the rule, but right now there's no real reliable and affordable solution to test the octane at the track. So this is something we're looking into further this year. And Phil and the tech committee has taken this on, and they're gonna look into it further. But at this time, we don't have the ability to enforce it.
We found tools; they're out there. I found a used analyzer. It was $17,000, and it was a pretty decent sized brick. Remember, we have 3 different equipment trailers in 3 parts of the country, so anything that we need, a laptop, a decoder, whatever, we triple it. So even if we decided we were flush with cash and we wanted to do this, that's used one times 3 for the club. And I don't even know if we could get through using them. Now you're looking at new ones. Do we know how to use it? Is OSHA going to come down on us like a ton of bricks because we're handling gasoline and we haven't gotten permits involved with it? So there's a lot of problems, and that's why. Calibration. Yes. What if we get off? I disqualify your car because it says that you had 94 octane, but you actually didn't. You had 93. What if the gas station had screwed up? So there was a lot of issues with that. And while we do support it, like Bruce mentioned, there needs to be a lot more research work into it before we could address it.
There was also, I think, some of the members that had written opinions, the turbo cars, some of the factory turbo cars felt that if they weren't allowed to run above 93, that they would explode their engines. Again, something we have to look into.
It probably was the most hotly contested petition that we had, I think, at the border.
One of the top 3, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's just a matter of how do we implement it. You know, you can buy a tester on eBay for $117, but
disqualify everybody.
All the reviews came back and said they all came back and said it was completely unreliable. So what good have you done then? You know, do you want to DQ somebody because you have a bad tester? Yeah. So it was tough. The next one was seat backs within 3 inches of the roll cage behind the seat. I think this was just a clarification of a rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your seat has to, in the most forward position, needs to be within 3 inches. And I think that's a safety thing. And it was people were overwhelmingly in favor of, and as was the board. I mean, safety first, and so that was an easy one for the board to say yes.
Like I said, it's not a rule change. It's just we're clarifying the words we've used because they were a little bit gray. So now we'll use better English language, and it's still the same rule.
The next one was the lithium-ion batteries. A petition was raised that they're actually can be dangerous. It can be fires. And I've heard and seen that, but I don't know how many lithium-ion. I mean, for the board, it was like, well, we don't really know what the hell they're talking about.
Yes,
I mean, we're not technical engineers, so we had, Mike was doing a lot of research on it, and other people did some research on it to come back and try to figure out what it was. But most of the batteries are not lithium-ion. They're a LiPo battery, which is fairly safe. I have yet to pull the cover off mine in my car and see what it is. I hope it's not,
I doubt it.
because I don't want to buy a new battery. But it didn't sound like there were actually a lot of cars that were operating a truly lithium ion.
From what we found in research, they don't make them for cars anymore. The early ones were available, but for the last couple of years, you can't buy lithium ion. What you get is these LiPo batteries, because they were safer and the companies didn't want to get sued, so they're not going to sell you a lithium-ion one. So that's why, while we're going to disallow a true plain lithium-ion, the LiPo batteries, which are still being sold as lithiums, they're perfectly fine. If that's what you got in the car and this battery says LiPo, then it's fine. You're good to go still.
Yeah. Anti-gravity is the most common LiPo battery in racing right now.
That's
what you got.
I hope so.
All righty. The next petition was.
His is legal.
Hey,
it's not bad actually. Good idea.
This morning.
Yeah.
I like the mood lighting though. The next petition was to allow free reliability modifications, and I think the members were pretty split on this, and probably had to do with how you feel about your particular car. The board voted no, and we put a quote in here. I'm gonna read it. So, as the fact that Champ Car races are endurance races has been totally forgotten. Anything which improves reliability allows a car to be driven harder and faster. Thus, it is a performance benefit if a car can now go faster for the race duration than it would without these improvements. These requests are a bunch of horse poop. And when added to the excessive number of modifications now permitted, are driving Champ Car far from the low-cost endurance racing routes. Using the logic being offered in these proposals, I would be requesting free gearbox internals for the Saab 900 we used to race as those would break. Hogwash. We strongly oppose all of these proposals. Again, we voted no on that. Members were pretty split.
That was actually about 5 proposals. It was.
Yeah, they're all listed individually. Yeah. We just took them as they came in, but there's very similar ones in there.
Yeah. Time penalties for pit road infractions. Again, the board voted no. we feel that this belongs in the operations manual. I think the most of the teams are doing pretty well on pit road. You still get guys that forget visors. Come on, that's going to happen. You're in a hurry. So to penalize something, the votes were kind of split among the members, 12-4, 7 against. I feel like the current staff does a good job at giving out penalties for pit lane infractions. The biggest one going too fast down pit lane. Also, I have seen where fuel stops are stopped due to not having a fire bottle person or someone is working on the car while fueling. So again, I think we do pretty well with that.
You know what's interesting? When you covered the petitions that were about penalizing other team members for doing something wrong, you guys are brutal on each other. Like, crucify them! Hang them! I mean, it was like, wow, guys. Anyway.
The next petition is allow JDM and EDM engines in cars. Board vote yes. JDM engines are now been allowed by tech for a few years now. The engine must be at the same displacement within 3% of the USDM specs. Again, the members are pretty split on this, 4-9 against 8. I think the board looked at it as an expense that allowing these engines, you're not going to get a whole lot of performance value out of them as opposed to US one, and they're cheaper. So here you go. You get the big print too.
Is that automatic trans?
Automatic
No,
transmission.
the automatic trans.
Okay. The next one is automatic trans point reduction. It was a rule clarification, right?
You want to help her out with that one, Mike?
What's that? Yeah, so
Can we explain that?
the issue that this particular member submitted was that all of our cars on our VPI list are supposedly based on a manual transmission, even if the car only came with an automatic. So they run the cars in automatic, they get 75 points off of it. But if they put a manual in a car, we currently are getting them for 25 points in a transmission swap. And the petition essentially was asking, we should clarify that to say that if they put a manual transmission in the car that came with an automatic, that shouldn't be any points because everything is supposedly based on a manual transmission. To do that, we voted no on it because we would have to identify the only cars on the list that ever came with an automatic and adjust their value down ahead of time, and then put a clause in and say, because we've already adjusted your value down, you can't take another 75 point off. And the clerical nightmare that it would create wasn't worth the hassle. We don't know of, I only know of one team that would fall in this category. Nobody else has this issue because most teams are picking manual cars. You know, no one really is running Monte Carlo SSs. There's the SC400 team. I know they have this issue, but other than that, it's not come up. And so we weren't going to basically try and reinvent the wheel because of a very small anomaly. The next one. Sorry, you got screwed on that one, didn't you?
I thought you might be happy.
That one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is the engine swaps that swap for a lower horsepower being just 50 points. The board voted yes. This is due to the swap value calculator not working appropriately when you're going backwards in horsepower. It doesn't work with negative numbers. So we assigned a flat 50-point fee for reduced power swaps. And you guys were kind of 10, like 4, 7 against.
Yeah, I think it was only split because people didn't understand that that formula doesn't have negative numbers. I think otherwise everybody would agree that, okay, yeah, there's something wrong here.
Somebody did suggest that, well, if the formula's broken, then fix it.
Oh, yeah.
Not really a unique idea. We tried that. We're not smart enough. It didn't work. So we're just going to go with this.
Okay, so the next one is the national championship being allowed to bring a rebuilt car if one is wrecked and destroyed before that. We talked about this and we decided to allow this because things happen, right?
Yep.
And you guys were for this 12 and against at 6.
Well, one of the things that we looked at is We had 2 incidents, 2 cars that I know of that are in the championship this year. Both were totaled.
Both on the same track, actually.
At the
Yes,
Glen?
actually.
At the Glen.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both happened different years, but the same
The
track.
reasoning here is none of us are racing the same car we started out the year with. Nobody, we're always tinkering with our cars, so it's kind of pointless to put. Now, what we do ask, or what we are approving, is the same car. You can't wreck a BMW and then come out with a Ferrari or something like that. So it affects 2 cars this year. You don't want to cut. I mean, you don't want to cut somebody out of the championship that really deserves to be there. So
The one thing that we put in there was that cars have to go through tech and be approved before they're allowed if they're a replacement car.
Yeah, you know, if it happens to you, unfortunately, you just have to get a hold of Phil McKinney and explain to him. Basically, he wants to see the logbook. What did you have, and
what do you got?
What do you got now? And we want to make sure that all the parts carried over. If you decide you want to leave off like something that made your car faster because you're broke, whatever. You know, but basically, they got to prove it's got to be the same car.
The next petition was defining the engine horsepower, much like we do weights, and having a list that you could look up for swap purposes. This was pretty split. We as a board voted no. I believe the reason was, frankly, there's just too many options from year to year what horsepower you're dealing with. It fluctuates so much, and the references for it are hard to pin down. So
you were giving examples of the Ecotech motor itself.
Oh yeah, the Ecotech, for example, I swapped into my Miata, and the horsepower ranges depend upon where you pulled it from. It's the same motor, and you can and ECU is open, but it could be as low as 163 and as high as 172, 174, I believe. And there are 7 different numbers you could use. So how do you pick which one? Well, of course, everybody who did it got it from the lowest horsepower car. Well, yeah, I mean that's where it came from. Of course. But you know, I mean, so I mean, there were so many, and that's not the only motor like that. There's so many variations, and a lot of the motors are put in so many different applications that it became almost impossible to do. So.
next petition was allowing a supplemental 3-gallon fuel cell for cars with less than 12-gallon OEM tanks. Pretty much the members were overwhelmingly against this, 20-3. We as the board also voted no. You know, the quote here pretty much summed it up. We're in this series because it is the most cost-effective way to race wheel to wheel on track. We chose our car after very careful consideration of purchase price, reliability, parts availability, and most importantly, fuel mileage. Every team has that same option. I think that pretty much summed it up. So.
I have a question on that subject.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, okay, afterwards.
What?
If you think you can remember, we'll do it at the end. If you're going to forget about it, then I guess we can do it now.
Well, we had an issue, I think it was the road Atlanta, and there was a Beamer that had.
That's got nothing to do
with the fuel.
Yeah, so it's a car with a big fuel tank that can go 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
Nothing to do with this.
Okay. Right. No question after all.
Different issue.
All righty.
So the next petition had to do with creating a litmus test for deciding if a modification adds value to the car. The board voted no. The thought process was good. The members were against it. You know, and the thought process and the logic, you know, is good to use for guiding the decision, but we didn't want to make it a rule.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you've read that petition, they had these 3 questions you would ask, and if the answer was yes to all of them, then you're getting points. If it was no to any one of them, then you don't get points. To put that in print boxes you in and could potentially bite you later. But it's the same kind of thing that the board and Phil and the rest of the tech guys use anyway when they're looking at a car. You put this widget on your car, and they're thinking in their head that didn't come that way, and I'm pretty darn sure that makes your car faster. If we don't have an exemption for it in a rule book, you're getting points, Cat. You know, I mean, that's the way it's going to work. But it's not going to. We thought it's just not meant for the rule book, so that's why it was no on that one.
So the next petition had to do with the way the petition was written was to allow a swap or to allow engine mods. But if you swapped an engine into your car, you wouldn't be allowed to make any modifications, even if the swap calculator still left you a cushion on points. We voted no against this. Again, the thought was that guys with aging cars, old Miatas that want to put an Ecotech in them,
Datsuns.
Old Datsuns.
No, not the Datsun.
Yeah, what are you pointing at me for?
But no, I mean, out on the West Coast, there's a 914 team that swapped an engine in.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've had some cushion left, and so they were allowed some mods. And you know, it's not a loophole. If you have the points, you can use the points, just as if pre-swap. I mean, you're taking 50 points for the swap, and if there's still some points left and you want to add some headers or coilovers or something, then feel free to do it. So.
Okay, the next one, actually I'm gonna do the next three because they're all kind of, they were all denied for the same reason. The first one is, I always start with a race pace car. Sometimes we don't have a pace car, not always.
It's rare, but you never know what happens.
You never know, and we don't want to be shoot in where we have to have a pace car. It's one of those, it's an operational thing, it's in the manual. I mean, we'd like to run a pace car, we'll try to, but to actually put a rule in the rule book saying we have to run a pace car isn't always possible. And
Tracks might not allow it.
Yeah, tracks might not allow it, or you know, whatever it is. Same thing, the next one, single file restart.
On page 26, Jerry. Starting a race.
There it is, yeah. All races start double file. We voted no on that. Double file restarts are super exciting. I love them. But they're also not necessarily the safest way to go, and there are tracks that don't want us to do it that way as well. And so again, we didn't want to get shoehorned into having to do something that maybe we weren't going to be allowed to do at certain tracks. And then the next one, random stall start, mad dash. That's in our... If anybody was at Watkins Glen, it was
2017.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was like a land grab. I mean, this is what it looked like in Oklahoma when they said go, and everybody got to run out across the plains and claim their land. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was just a thing of beauty. Actually, it was actually terrible, and someone should have gotten hurt. All the cars were driving down to the front as fast as they could. And so after that we went to, it's actually in the operations manual now. So we didn't need a rule for this because this is an operating thing, but it's a random draw on a pit stall and then a reversal the next day if it's a twin day race. And I think it works really great. If you get screwed the first day, you get a benefit the second day.
And so. Here, the reason why it's no great example is this week is championship. The championship qualified cars are going out first tomorrow, or Saturday, which would be directly against the way the rule will be written in the rule book. So we don't want to be breaking the rules. That's why this stays open to the event director discretion.
Okay, the next petition involved driver test for maximum egress time. There were 4 people against it among members, 15 against that we heard from. Board voted unanimously no. It's a great idea, but we're not going to make it into a rule. Tech and the event director maintain the right to require anyone to demonstrate the ability to get out in a timely fashion. So
we've done this. Dan Diggs, you guys remember Dan Diggs? He was at an event, I want to say Road Atlanta, and he was concerned that there was if Jimmy remembers, there was a larger woman who was driving, and he didn't think she could get out. And he came up to her and he says, I need you to show me you can get out of the car. And she looked at him, she says, you call me fat? And Dan's getting all red and nervous. And he says, no ma'am, I'm just here to make sure you stay safe. She got out of that car lickety split. And then she got done, she grabbed him, gave him a bear hug, and she says, thank you. I appreciate you checking on me. So we do it. It's just not very often.
And lately, if you've been watching, some of these auto forums, there's been a lot of fires lately in other series. So, and a lot of you need to practice that. So the next petition, AccuSump's free. Board vote no. No more free stuff. There's too much free stuff as it is. Was a quote that was in there. It was an interesting split, probably again, and there were 14 against 18, probably depends on what car you own, as to where you voted on that. Petition, the next petition, engine oil coolers free. Board vote no. Reliability is still a measure of endurance racing. If you're pushing your car and need additional parts to keep it reliable, then there should be points involved. Again, the members voted 13 for, 18 against. Next petition, aluminum radiators free. Board vote no. However, we saw the logic in the petition. So in 2019, we're going to reduce to 10 points aluminum radiators. The current radiator rule we like, but 20 points seemed a bit excessive for something that doesn't really increase power. We understood that, or this member said, I understand some aftermarket radiators are much cheaper than OE replacement ones on rare cars. I suggest 10 points as long as it's below a $300 cost, which is in the rule book now.
Well, it will be next year.
Well, the 10 points is. I don't think we talked about the 300, but.
Yeah, there's a little value, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Phil mentioned it. He mentioned at the end of our board meeting that he thought it still needed to be below the 300, and we all agreed on that. Again, the members were split at even almost.
And part of the
15,
reason,
16.
yeah, part of the reason we went down to 10 points too is because the aluminum radiators are actually a lot cheaper, and one of our mandates is to make this affordable racing. And there are some OEM radiators that could cost you $400.
Yeah.
And you can pick up a $100 aluminum radiator. Now, we don't want anybody to run out and get a triple core, but if you can get an aluminum radiator, I mean, I got it in my Miata book, $105 for my radiator, you know, brand new. So, you know, that was actually cheaper than an OEM one, I think.
Right. So the next petition, limit fuel octane to 93, board vote no. Again, we supported it like we did before, but there's no reliable and affordable solution to test octane at the track. And we're dead set against making new rules that we can't enforce effectively. So the members are pretty much for limiting it. The next one. What? Yeah, pass it. Yeah, I know. She gets this one? Cool.
She's sitting there looking at you like, when's my turn?
Yeah, like, how many are you going to do, Doc?
Give me another.
Well, I mean, come on.
He did all the easy ones, now it's your turn.
Yeah,
She gets one, but she goes, crap.
Right. I don't know what
Successful again.
Do you want me
Do we
to do
want to
this
do
one?
this one?
Do you want me to do this one and then get back to
Yeah.
Yeah.
you? Keep that down there.
Okay.
All right, so this is the only one that we as a board didn't vote and resolve in all three of our meetings. And after our last meeting, 30 minutes of bantering, I said, table it. We'll bring it up to the members. We'll get feedback on it. Basically, Mr. Trulio submitted a petition to change our classing system from a displacement-based. Right now, your A class are the small engines, and B, C, and D is your big Mustangs, Camaros, that kind of thing. Not hiding anything here, it's arbitrary. We just could have picked the yellow cars and the red cars, or, you know, the European cars, the American cars. We went with engine displacement. We are a single class racing series. This was done to kind of help give some people a smaller group to look at who they're racing against. So he's proposing to go from that, what he calls arbitrary, to a points-based classing system that says that your class is determined by the amount of points your car is as raced. So you build your car up to the max, whatever it may be, and you have 495 points. When you get teched and register, then you're going to be in the top tier class. If you just take a bone stock Camaro and you show up and it's 200 points, you're going to be in the low class. He puts forth some, he wrote like 2 or 3 pages on it. He puts forth his data, which he believes why. Board went back and forth. We were sort of split. Half of us think that there's merit to it. Half of us think it's hogwash. The members were sort of similar to that as well, you can see. So we decided that we're tabling it. So we want to hear from the members. We can hear from you guys tonight here at the end. We can swing back to this because it could take some time, maybe not. But we're not doing anything until we could talk to the members about it.
Board at ChampCar.org.
How about Doc?
Yeah.
All right.
What is TVPI?
Total value. Total. It's as race points. So there's total vehicle performance index. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Did Bill make that one up?
Believe it or not, I didn't. I forgot it.
Because I don't even know what it was.
I don't make stuff up ever.
All right. Now, Tiffany, these are one.
All right. This one is non-championship teams are exempt from the Park for May rules. The board voted no. Nobody has to follow that. They can take their car back if they want to, if they're non-championship, right, and work on it and just.
Well, it's kind of up for the event director, whatever he emails out.
Right. We didn't want to make it rule. Most people voted against that one anyway. The next one is a race within a 24-hour race. Being able to race an 8-hour shorter race within a 24-hour. That's something kind of interesting, but we also thought about like the logistics of that, and it seemed rather impossible. So we voted no.
That's funny.
It's the comment, the member comment.
I think it's fine. They
Oh.
threw Troy under the bus.
Many people knew who
That's not
submitted
hard to
petitions,
do.
and so they wrote to them.
I can't hard. I only see like
It's
half
same
of
thing
it.
there.
So yeah. So just a few for and mostly against. The next one is about fuel size as well. We voted no. Fuel capacity is one of the few remaining constraints on power as a basic fundamental of physics. Allowing additional fuel will allow teams to turn that energy into power, contributing to a significant speed creep. So no additional fuel. Most of you voted against that as well.
While the book's being passed, again, the meeting minutes will be posted in a couple of days. There's a lot more discussion. Trust me, I transcribe these things.
You're so mad.
You guys talk a lot. So there's a lot more to this. It wasn't, trust me, these, we met for 3 hours. It's not just no. Everybody's got to throw their 2 cents in.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, the next petition. Incident tracking system attached to our members' licenses. Everybody was against this. Even the board. Not even the guy who submitted it bothered to comment on it. So.
He's like, yeah, what was I thinking?
Let's just move on. Yeah. Change your mind.
There was a lot of people.
Now, the good thing is, in case you think the board only says no, we got a few here in a row. The board actually says yes.
Yeah, we actually are.
I told everybody that you better have a really good, compelling reason to change the way this club operates, because I like to say no a lot. Just ask my kid. Don't I, Anya? She's not even listening. Teenager. Anyway, yeah. So
see how well that
there
works.
wasn't a lot of yeses here.
All right. Next petition was about disallowing open funnel fueling.
Disallow the opal?
Disallow opals?
No more opals.
No more opals. Basically, we're not seeing teams take fueling seriously. The votes were pretty split amongst the members, but we think there's a safety issue here, and we're gonna get rid of open funnel fueling for next year.
How many people have been pitting next to somebody who's got this big old 1-gallon funnel car, and the tank's full, and you stand there and you're like, now what are you gonna do? They set their jug down and they yank the funnel, and there goes all the gas, and they're like, well, I got a drip pan, I'm good. That's not the point of the drip pan, because there's a hot brake rotor between that and the drip pan. It freaks us out, and it freaks you guys out too.
Yay.
Next petition was asking us to require SFI roll bar padding near the driver's head. Was this more of a clarification of the rules, or is this something we didn't have at all, Mike? More of a clarification.
It was more of a minor update. We're going to require it by the head now.
Yes.
But not by your knee or anything.
Correct.
It's always been suggested.
It's always been suggested, but now we're going to require.
Next petition had to do with the ability to have log books at impound rather than the tech sheets. The board voted yes for this. Again, the log book has all of the modifications listed in it. Phil always has mine if I ever finish a race, so.
If Phil was here, if Phil was here, Phil will tell you, we'll tell everybody else.
Yeah.
Your tech sheet is a worksheet to help us fill out your logbook. Everything that's on the tech sheet should be in the logbook. If you show me a logbook that's not filled out to match your tech sheet, I'll show you a tech inspector that screwed up and didn't do his job. So that's why it's okay to require the logbook. Plus, as a bonus, the logbook is a history of your car. We can see where 2 races ago you took off the sway bar to get below 500 points, whereas your tech sheet is only once per year. So that's why this passes.
The next petition had to do with cheating teams. The forum loves cheating teams.
I don't know. My finger just went up. I just saying one. I'm just saying.
So anyway, in all seriousness, though, if somebody gets caught cheating, there needs to be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So this petition dealt with revoking their annual tech sticker, and they got to bring their car through tech every race and let it get scrutinized. And if somebody cheats, I know Phil carries a grudge. So,
yes, he does that. And really, it's like a scarlet letter. It's waiting in tech line may or may not be long for you, but the fact that you're going to be in tech line and your competitors, your fellow members, can go over there and stand there and look at your car being teched is just that big scarlet letter on you, and you just don't want it. So this is peer pressure to coerce you to behave.
So they're gonna get a red tech sticker that, or whatever it is, the color?
Dot on their forehead.
Yeah.
Your new class sticker's red.
Yeah.
What is the definition of cheating, though? I mean, is that just not?
If you run a 3.5 liter engine instead of a 3. That's one example.
I saw the well, whatever that took you over by a point. Is that cheating?
I think the cheating by our standards,
point,
or what we would call it, is the rules state that you got to claim everything. Mm-hmm. And we can do a cursory glance over your car when there's 100 cars in line, and we can catch that's not a stock carburetor on that car, and we can mark it down. But if you put something under the car, offset bushings, or you went with aluminum drive shaft that wasn't factory, and we didn't get her to see it, and you didn't claim it, and we find it in post-race impound. So now we call it cheating because you knew the rules didn't allow it, and you knew you had to claim, but you did not, and you hoped that we would miss it and nobody would point it out. So you got caught not following the rules is what we call cheating.
Ignorance.
So, any protest that you lose after the race is cheating.
I was going to say a failure of post-race impound.
Any
So
post-race,
we've
or
had
pre-race, I guess.
in the last 6 or 9 months 3 teams disqualified. Now, at least 2 of those 3 teams said before I could say disqualified, they said we forfeit, and they just backed out. One of them challenged it, and there was discussion, and it was disqualification. But we found items on the car that they didn't claim, and we confronted them with the rule book, and 2 of them, one of them said, I didn't know, I had someone else build the car for me. Another guy said, we knew about it, oops, our fault, we forfeit. And the third guy said, oh, I forgot to claim that. So they're all 3 the same category. Didn't claim it, was in the rules, and they were disqualified.
I know where you're going. I was just trying to clarify because some,
Yeah.
some people would say, wait a minute, it's not cheating. I just didn't make post-race.
I'm happy to say
That
that
wasn't cheating.
you didn't follow the rules. So we'll just go with that.
What's your name?
There you go. And I'm not cheating.
No, we're just asking.
Yeah, I'm not cheating.
So if somebody forfeits, what's the interpretation
They're
from
cheating.
there?
So we
So
know.
you don't have
so,
a chance to actually go through the car.
That's why I would say failure to meet post-race impound.
and what we did officially for the one event where the person said we forfeit, they didn't go to post-race impound.
Right.
We disqualified them for failing to hear the rule to go to post-race impound. Now, behind the scenes and all this stuff, it's not just teams that tell us, hey, someone's cheating over there. A lot of times we suspect things too. We've been doing this quite often. We have guys that know a lot about cars as well. And in one of those 3 instances, we did our own digging, and we got pictures, and we found things out, and I went to the team myself with about an hour to go, and I said, your motor's illegal. You're going to be disqualified. Just letting you know. And they could have pulled off the track. They ran the whole race to the end and then just bypassed impound, so disqualified.
Therefore,
So therefore,
Yes.
that rule
cheating.
is
Yes.
still going on.
Therefore,
You can
revoke.
forfeit, but the rule's still going to apply to you, is what I'm getting at.
You can forfeit the race, and I guess you're saying that you can cheat the rules and forfeit and not get in trouble? Is that what you're asking now?
Right? Yeah, I'm saying if somebody forfeits,
Yeah.
instead of
They
going
lose the
across the
text
race, they're like, oh no, you can't prove we did anything because I forfeited, nobody inspected my car, you can't take my text sticker. That's what they're going to do.
We do a lot of behind-the-scenes investigation,
Okay.
and we pulled his tech sticker at that race. It was done,
Okay.
even though he didn't go through. Because I don't want to have
You don't have a car in the front that finishes great.
over and
all of
over
a-
again.
And all of a sudden, them just quit
Yes,
at the end.
and I don't want this loophole. I want to be able to tell the members, yeah, they disqualified because technically they didn't go to impound. But you want to know why they didn't go to impound? Because we found they had an illegal engine, and because of that, we have pulled their annual tech sticker, and now you can watch them every single race. So we're going to do our part, our due diligence, but as far as the actual documented finish the race, they were disqualified for not going to impound.
Mike, I got some important questions here.
Every question is important.
I know that. Chris Huggins says, regarding the cheating rule, does this apply to the top 5 or any car that is protesting? There is a follow-up question.
Of course there's a follow-up question. I'm glad he's participating. So, in other words, he's asking, what if I know that the guy who finished in 39th place was cheating? Can he protest that guy? We're so busy. We need to focus on the top 5. Would I take a protest for a car down there? We would, but understand it's going to take a back seat to us finishing the top 5 and getting ready for the race, the award ceremony. But a lot of times if we know that what the issue is, we know that 39th place car is claiming he's got so many points, but he's actually got twice that, the car's decked out, we can go up to him privately and we can say, your tech sheet's not accurate, and we're going to revoke your tech sticker for it. And nobody knows anything is going on. This is private between us and them, and they can fix their logbook for the next race, and they'll have to come tech again that year. I think that answers what he was looking for
He
here.
says, shouldn't Champ Car have the authority to revoke any tech sticker at any time for any reason?
We already do. And we've had to do it because cars have been teched, unfortunately, in other parts of the country in the past, and the tech they got was substandard, and they show up under Phil, and Phil says, what the heck is this? There's missing welds, stuff like that, and we've revoked a sticker because you're not getting it back until you fix these welds. Or why isn't all the stuff in the logbook? And so we've done that in the past, and we will continue to reserve that right. And we're going to keep doing questions, finish up. We're close here.
I know, sorry, the reply was funny. Sorry, John, I'm not going to mention that. Something about just E30s.
Just E30s, funny. Okay. Anyway, I think we finished that. What was the next one there, Bruce?
Okay, next one, make all cooling add-ons free. Again, more free stuff, not gonna happen. So, you wanna go for that?
Sure. Add rear diffusers to BCCR at 10 points. I think that was it. To clarify the 10-point value, I think it was a clarification, wasn't it, more than anything?
Yes.
It was anything, a diffuser is defined as being behind the rear axle to the rear of the car. A splitter is being defined as something that extends from the front of the car to the front axle. In between is another 10 points for a flat bottom. So it's just defining, you know, a diffuser isn't something that starts at the oil pan and goes to the back of the car.
Phil has sent this email to people. He said, here's what your diffuser is. And this person that the petition knew about the email and said, everybody needs to know about this. I want it added to the rule book. So that's what it is. It's this, what Phil has already done for people by email, it's now going to be black and white in the book.
Unless it's mid-engine, from the oil pan back.
So you basically, you define your car by axle and
He's
and
defined,
thirds.
Phil defines
It's
it
front
by
third,
axle.
middle third, rear third.
That's
and
how
of course,
Phil-
that big,
that's how
huge,
Phil
cool
defines
wing
it.
in the back that makes you so much faster. There's the fourth third.
Yeah.
The air brake?
The air brake.
Yeah, but it looks good.
It does.
Which we'll get to that part later.
Yes, we will.
Put it on your front wheel drive car.
They're always not functional, it shouldn't be. Slow down.
Turbo source, I'm going to need some help with this one because I got really confused for this one. Turbo source origin must come from the VPI list. We voted no. Membership was slightly in favor. because there's cheap eBay turbos, and I think what happened too is there's also really, really expensive turbos that would cost a fortune but really help a car. And again, we're trying to keep racing cheap. I think that was the crux of it, if I remember correctly. Or
well, I think that the member's petition, I can even got it, pull it right up. He wanted any turbo swap on a car. So you have a naturally aspirated car and you put a turbo on it, should come from another car on the VPI list, kind of like if you do an engine swap or transmission swap. And well, the car didn't have to have the turbo option. You could put a turbocharger on a Honda did come with one, but it should have come from a car like a Mitsubishi Eclipse on our list that has a turbo already as an option. I guess that's what you said. That's what he was asking for. I don't even know what page it was on.
38.
38. 38.
Current turbo rule does not specify where it can come from for 100 points. This person would like a rule that just says turbo must come from a vehicle on the DPI list only, includes manifold.
Yeah, I totally missed
He wants to provide the reasoning is prevent people from using expensive aftermarket turbos meant for racing. So when we talked about it, the gist was the same thing that one of the members said, that you could spend a lot more money on a turbo that has tighter tolerances and higher grade materials, but it's not going to perform much better in an environment of endurance racing than the one that you can get from a scrap car. So there is no, remind me later. You're not going to see a performance advantage worth spending the $1,500 on that high-end turbo versus going to junkyard and grabbing one off Mitsubishi Eclipse or something else that you got for 50 bucks. And so, but if you want to go ahead and spend $1,500, hey, it's your wallet. So that's what this person was saying, this member, and this is what the board, I don't know how many of us voted for and against it. You've written down in front of you.
I do. We all voted. Wait a minute. Everybody voted. We said no, but everybody voted for it initially. That's really weird.
Oh, I guess we changed.
Yes,
we have
yes.
our opinions, and then we changed our mind, and we all voted no afterwards.
I think we were all confused by it to begin with. I was, I know. So.
Sound like you still are.
I think I am. I'm still not sure what the hell you're talking about.
Read the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
The meeting minutes remind us what we talked about that
Yeah,
night.
and there's no way to enforce it. I mean, the tech would have to know 10,000 different turbos.
And that's
Well, the problem
the other
is
thing.
your power to weight ratios would change drastically turbo to turbo, and your whole RPM rate, so it changes your VPI, period.
And it's a bit of a dark science. The people throw a turbo on it, you know, like throwing nitrous on the car, and they're just going to go faster for a little while.
So would this be considered part of a swap? Because there's already a rule about the money you can spend on the swap.
Turbo is 100 points on our
Turbo's
a la carte
100
list.
points.
So you've got, you want to put a turbo on your car?
100 points.
100 points. That's it. All right.
So the next petition had to deal with brakes. They're either OEM or 5 points per corner. We voted no on that. We think the 2X rule works really well. As a member pointed out, it penalizes certain cars with poor OEM brakes. You know, we want you to be able to stop safely. So we think the 2X rule works well. I think it does specify, I think the word Wildwood's down in there, and we're going to change that to any aftermarket brake.
We were talking about any after, but that one wasn't part of the petition.
Okay.
The other part of it was, if there's 5 points, you put any brakes you want on your corner, on your car. You could put some bare brakes, some huge things, $2,500 on an axle for 5 points. So, but the guy who just upgrades his OEM stuff to a slightly bigger optional caliber that came on that car for a different year, that cost 50 bucks in a junkyard, he would be disallowed. So there was a lot of reasons that it didn't make sense for the whole membership.
Yeah, I raced a Chevy Citation one time that came with drum brakes in the back. We went to every pad in the 3-county area around Carolina Motorsports Park and finished the race with no brakes. I needed something that was not Chevy Citation, so the 2 times rule would have allowed that without me spending a lot of money.
Next one, disallow splitters and wings. Most of the members were against it. There were 7 for, 17 against. The board voted no. I'm not a big fan of banning Arrow, and this will result in many teams leaving the series. Aero seems to be an easy tool for teams to improve their car at a reasonable cost. We agree with that. So.
Or more fun, it's a reasonable tool for teams to hurt their car at a reasonable
true
cost.
enough.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it works both ways.
But it looks really cool, the picture does.
Yeah.
Not every car needs aero.
No?
No.
We like you guys figuring that stuff out. That's the fun of it, engineering your car, building your way. There's no two cars identical, and so that's part of it.
Petition allowed 2-gallon auxiliary fuel cells with OEM tank. Board voted no. There were only 4 members for it, 19 against it. Here's one. You want me to speak to this one?
We can all start talking about it.
Okay. This next petition had to do with creating a tech committee to make all decisions regarding rules and values.
You should have given that to Tiffany.
Hard one.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah. This created quite a discussion, like several pages of minutes. Board voted no, but we also agreed with some parts of this, and while we voted no on the petition, you have to read the way our by rules are written, in that the board of directors can appoint a committee at any time to do anything. So while we voted no on the petition, we agree with the idea. We're going to start discussing this with members. The petition also only had 3 people that would be appointed to this committee, and most of us, Jerry and I especially, agreed that's far too many people.
No.
Far too few people.
Yeah.
So we'd like to see 7, 9, something along there. So we're going to go ahead forward on this. We'll probably move a little slow, but we'll start the discussions. We don't know how exactly we're going to do it. We've talked about, all right, you want to be the Datsun guy? I say that because there's a Datsun sticker right there in front of me. Send your resume. What are your qualifications?
Yeah.
So,
We want experts.
Yeah, we want experts.
And I mean, just one other thing. I mean, at this point, people think it's just Phil, and Phil wanted to make sure that people didn't think it was just him. I mean, he mentioned Dan Diggs, Jay Monty, John Passion, Dana Morrison, Mike Morrison. So it's not just Phil right now. A lot of it falls on Phil decisions too, but in terms of resources he goes to, it's not all coming from him.
But one of the reasons that Doc and I were championing it too is because of the lack of visibility. And I think if you have a board where people are appointed to the board, you know who those people are, we can get the word out more. I mean, a lot of that stuff's happening behind the scenes right now. You all don't know about it. Hell, I didn't know about it.
And there's a lot of work, because what ultimately the member, this particular person and everybody else is looking for is, if a decision is made, everybody wants to know about it. If we're going to go a certain direction, everybody wants to know about it, and it's publicizing this information. Bill is buried with stuff I give him to do. I am buried trying to keep up with sponsors, and spent 2 weeks typing all this stuff up for the meeting today. We don't have the time to document some of these things, and we want to. So if we have a committee that we appoint, they can talk about the stuff. Their only focus is just tech stuff, and then we can get them to type it up, and Bill can publish what they type up after Phil puts a stamp of approval on it. So as opposed to Phil and I having to talk about this and missing things, which is what the concern was, committee. So that's why we agree it was a good idea.
Right.
But not the way it was written. We couldn't approve it that way. So
They wanted a committee that would also make decisions at impound. Well, we don't have the time there. What if not? What if the whole committee isn't there? And they very rarely would be, I would think. We've got 30 minutes to get this done and get to the awards. People want to get home. We can't dial up people on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock and say, hey, what do you think? It's not practical. So this committee is going to be an advisory committee to Phil, and the tech inspectors, I assume, are going to be involved, obviously. So we want there's a lot of smart guys out there that know platforms that, Phil's awfully knowledgeable, so's Dan, so's Ray, but you can't know every engine. And the crazy stuff y'all come up with is so inventive that it's like, wow, I'm not qualified to make a lot of these decisions on specific engines. So, hell, I barely know my own car. So we like the idea of the committee, and we're going to move forward on that from a board of directors as an advisory committee through our bylaws.
All right. Finish up the last three there for us, Tiffany?
Bottom of the ninth. Okay, the next one is impound the class winners. You guys were for that, 15-3. We voted yes. We're going to bring in each class winner with the top 5 cars to impound. I thought that was a good idea.
We tried it at Watkins Glen, and it didn't cause any disruption. Nobody knew the difference. It works fine.
And there's still a lot of teams, actually, seems like most teams, that go, well, we're 8th overall, but we're only 3rd in class, you know, so we're doing great. Class racing is still important to a lot of teams. Sure. I mean, there's races within the race, so it is important.
All right. Apparently, I'm going to finish things up here. Next to last one, petition to increase the points value of a turbo add-on. The petitioner said that right now it's 100 points flat, and they think that by the time you put the turbo in the manifold, a header, the intercooler, and everything else, that it should be worth more, or spread more appropriately depending on the car. It got complicated and muddy in the waters, so we said because of that, no, it's 100 points. You might blow your car up, you might do really well with it. This particular person's comments were spot on, summarizing the end that the event director reserves the right. So if you manage to hit the nail on the head and you create the next unicorn that everybody's going to hate you and throw mud at you, muck up the show, and Dana or Mike or myself might come up and says, we're going to put you in EC, and you're going to cuss us out, but that's what this rule is for. So turbos are still 100 points. Finally, Rich, you want to talk about the last petition? Mr. Sonato submitted this petition.
The last petition was to allow dry brake systems for fueling purposes. This is a petition I wrote. The members and the rest of the board all voted against it.
No, I did actually go to bat for you.
You didn't show up when we discussed it. You missed the meeting.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Y'all voted all around me.
It's like Rich isn't here? No.
But you can propose it again next year when
I
you
can.
provide additional information regarding the safety benefits and everything else,
well,
and the lowered costs for everyone.
As a board member, I understand why we've done what we've done, but I will continue to push for us to look at this further next year. I have a hard time being part of a series that just said we're going to disallow open funnel fueling for the safety reasons, but at the same time not allow dry brakes, which are to help prevent these type of problems. So the mindset, and I don't know what the board said, but from the members I read, is that this is a cost issue. And as far as I know, we're not putting a price on safety.
Rich, I voted for it, but I was outnumbered, and the rest of the guys didn't want it, so
Well, say what matters. We got a 5-minute stop. There's really not much of an advantage, and
it's not a speed issue. It's
safety.
It's a safety issue, and from the test that I saw at VIR we did back in, was it February?
No,
Jimmy, you was
March.
there.
First week of March we did a test. Yes.
We had a team show up with a dry brake system. They were not aware of the rule, or if they were, they ignored the rule.
They were made aware of the rule before the green flag.
Okay, well, they were made aware of the rule, but we talked about it with the race director. I believe Dana was directing that race, and we went ahead and allowed the car to run that weekend.
As a test.
As a test only. And several of us watched the pit stops, and it was very clean, very nice. They were slower putting fuel in than most of these open dump fuel stops we see. Slower than the Datsun that we fill with our fuel cell. It does have a hose. So it's something I think we need to look at further, but it needs more research before we get there.
And I was kind of champion the against, and I'll tell you why. And what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But I think
that's being asked. They want to know why. Please provide additional details on why a safety device is banned for no reason.
Okay, no reason. I think the membership was against it largely, and there is a cost, and when you see an IRL team pump in 40 gallons of gas or 30 gallons of gas in 6 seconds.
That was the other thing, is what is the time per gallon?
And how much money, if you spend it, I hate to do it, but he won't even care. If Tuttle Motorsports can do it, they're going to do it. And they don't care if it's a $10,000 dry brake system that they added to the car. If it saves them 20 seconds, they're going to do it. And do they have an advantage now? Because now they can go around and check every tire. They can check air pressures, they can check oil, they can clean the windshield, the driver can get a drink. I mean, it's
more time to do
yeah, time is an advantage. And there are cars that it does take 3 or 4 minutes to fuel. So I don't know if, well, hold on, do we want to? Anyway, so that's why I was championing the against, because every NASCAR race I watch, every IRL race I watch, every Formula One race I watch, well, not Formula One, they don't fuel anymore, but the other ones, they pump the fuel in so damn fast, and it's like, well, there's an advantage.
Well,
and so
it's a balance, I think, between value of cost and how much time you get, because at the end of the day, yes, you get 5 minutes. But what can you do in a 5-minute period?
Right.
And if it takes you 1 minute and 30 seconds to put all your fuel in your car, and then you get the rest of that time frame to do everything else, I think that is as long.
what if I'm at Nelson Ledges and I'm gonna have to replace the left front wheel bearing, and I probably will. But I probably will, because I know how that track eats that bearing on a Miata, because we've lost them there before. If I can fuel in 10 seconds, that gives me a whole other minute or 2 or 3 to change that wheel bearing. I have a huge advantage.
You lose fewer load.
And if you've got the deep pockets, you buy it.
Right.
I agree.
All right, you say it's a safety issue. If you ever watch a NASCAR race where they got the dry brakes and they got the higher professionals, you ever seen them dislodge a can, gas flies, or you got one example. The only thing a dry brake does is you turn the can upside down so you can chunk it and go.
Yep.
It just
But
doesn't
5
move the can
gallons
upside down.
But 5 gallons of fuel is gonna flow the same no matter what. We're not putting 25 gallons of fuel in.
I do not believe that.
But 5 gallons.
It depends on
a 1 inch hole.
the diameter.
Yeah, it can't flow any faster than what we're doing now. I mean,
Sure it can.
we're open dumping now.
Have you watched any professionals do it?
These are not pressurized systems.
It's safer.
You don't think Tuttle will come with one?
It isn't 100%.
This is what the board meeting sounded like.
It's how much you can vent that back pressure into that tank.
You're not going to be able to get the vent.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to
It's all based on vent.
We all make poor life choices. Kind of like bringing a Chevette with drum brakes. That's just citation.
Citation. Yeah, it was a very poor choice.
Yeah, there are no rules that I know of that changes what you can do from where you put the fuel in to the gas tank. You can change the outside diameter of the hose. If you bought a car that only has a gas tank inlet that small, that's a poor life decision. I don't know what to
But you can change it within our rules though.
If you're still dumping from a 5-gallon fuel cell, it's still maybe 30 seconds.
So people are saying,
This is great.
guys, people are saying that there is a difference between the NASCAR. Hold on, the questions are coming here.
One comment Perry made, blame him again. The vent size is restricted on our fuel cells to a maximum size, and that has a huge impact on how fast you can put fuel.
Okay.
So
What about not on a fuel cell
It's
though?
not going to be safe when you're having an inverted can trying to charge against something a punky vent. It's not the wisest decision.
I've never used them, so, and I know most of
It
the
needs to be
people.
rethought. I mean, figured out before you.
You gotta have vents on both sides.
Fortunately, we voted no.
We voted no.
Sorry, Rich. I hear what you're saying. You make a lot of good points. Sure.
Okay, one at a time, please.
This is a prime example why we're gonna have this tech advisory committee.
I don't know if there was anything you looked
I
at.
mean, the vote's already made.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen in 2019. We're done. But guys, we're going to get into questions. One thing I wanted to mention, this right here, this banter between the board, this happened on the phone. We met. It's happening now with you guys. Going forward, the board is elected every year, and it can change.
You can write petitions.
You guys can go on here. You guys continue to write petitions. If you elect somebody on here that has crazy ideas and say, we're going to have 25-gallon fuel cells now, you guys have to live with it, and that means Phil and I have to enforce that crap. But be aware of this kind of stuff, this dialogue we have, and when you nominate people and vote for people in the fall for board members, okay? Any questions about this weekend? Oh, you're good.
He's trying to kick us off
No,
the
I'm
board.
not. I could be kicked off too, Any questions about the stuff we talked about tonight? Any questions? Other questions? Yes.
Just
the last one, on
Assuming you're
on the
running.
fuel.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were allowed to talk in the middle of it, but the simplest one to me is if you just said your fuel's got to be clear. Everybody,
Clear,
everybody goes by smell. It's not clear. Fuel's not clear, but you know when it's blue.
But
That's what
when we
gets
know,
everybody.
because there are fuel,
That's a good point.
there are fuel
We just
additives
said that.
that we put in our fuel to keep
You
the
get that?
water.
Matt
you know,
knows
the-
it's his track. He says they're 93 octane, it's dyed red.
But they're all different colors.
So Perry, this is Matt Busby, track manager here.
R93, we just had 4,000 gallons of dyed 93 put into our tank.
Where the hell did you find that?
BP.
Yeah.
And that's what we
How
went
much per
into,
gallon?
you know?
How much a gallon?
410.
California prices.
Yeah, he's used to
I'm
that.
used to it. I'll buy it.
That's cheap.
Good question now.
It's clean.
Yes.
This wasn't any of the petitions, but it was a rule change that you guys announced on one of the slides, the radiator thing.
Okay.
Right now, there's a 5-point radiator and a 20-point radiator.
Correct.
Is all radiators going to be 10 points next year?
No,
or
so
is there
5 and
gonna be
10.
No.
five?
The
5
aluminum
and 10.
drops from 20 to 10.
Okay, so just aluminum chain, there's still a non-OEM 5-point.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We still want to incentivize the use of cheaper OEM parts, doing
Yeah.
brake swapping, radiator swapping, as opposed to spending money at thespeedshop.com, you know?
Sounds good.
Anything from online?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
Oh, shit.
How much time do we have?
2 minutes.
It's all Huggins.
It's all Huggins.
Yeah, no, we have about between 25 and 35 watching. It's going up and down.
The boring parts.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kennedy from Troy.
Now, Troy's on his way here, so, let's see. Hold on, you're saying I should have free food, Pitt? Yes, so, all right, so back to the fuel, the fuel octane. Alex M. states that when a car rolls by and your eyes are burnt, that's hard to show that it's not 93, but that's not necessarily true, because if the tune on the car is bad, that can also.
Oh yeah, I had a Camaro a long time ago that was carbureted during a fat. It was all worn out, and it was just heavy black.
Yeah.
It would come out tailpipe, and that was just too rich. But it was 87 octane.
So it's not, just burning your eyes isn't a way to prove
It's
that.
subjective.
Not a legitimate test.
People are asking if these slides are going to be shown later. I can upload those to the web. I said yes.
Yeah, we can upload that stuff. It's a presentation ready to go.
Okay.
Board meeting minutes are gonna be on there?
Yes, our transcriptionist has done a wonderful job tonight.
Yes.
They're lovely.
We'll see.
She's lovely. Is that what you would know?
Thank you.
All right, lithium-ion batteries. I think there's I think there's a misunderstanding of what's what kind of battery.
So for clarification again on the lithium-ion battery thing, there's a almost certain chance that if you have a lithium battery in your car, that it is not lithium-ion. It is a lithium iron phosphate. That's Life PO4. That's what they've been making and putting in cars for a number of years now, because the first lithium-ion ones had thermal runaway and caused massive damage and killed people. You can see videos on it online. So the company's not wanting to be sued changed what they use. So there's almost guaranteed that if you've got that in your car, it's a LifePo, not a lithium-ion. So this rule won't affect you. But if you were one of the first ones to buy one of those batteries a long time ago and still have it, you may have to replace it, and it's really for your own good.
Yeah, the lithium ion is pretty much only in the RC market these days, a hobby market.
Somebody asked, True Speed Motorsports, was sump pan and aluminum radiator in that, or was that separate?
What?
Nothing. Okay, he was misunderstood.
Aluminum radiator.
Yeah.
10 points. Next year.
Do you know the difference
Next
between a
year.
B18C1 and a B18C3? I guess this goes to the JDM stuff. How are you guys going to be able to differentiate all
One's
this?
two better than the other, for sure.
Huh?
There you go. That's it.
Currently, when it comes to the multiple configurations of engines, tech is looking at the stamp casting mark on the block and the head, and if they don't already know it, it's not a common one we're using, then they go to the internet and pull up information on it. They can research things all throughout the race and can come to you Saturday night or Sunday with information or ask for clarification. So we don't know everything on everything, but we look it up and we contact experts about those things. And if you try to slip something by us, you might get it by, but we also might find the answer.
All right.
Anything he wants to share with us would be great.
Hopefully.
Regarding the transmission rules, will this be added to the actual rules?
What rules? We didn't change anything with transmissions.
The automatic transmission.
The automatic.
So the current way it's written is not going to change. If you race an automatic, it's 75 points off your VPI. If you swap in a manual transmission into an automatic car, it's 25 points.
Okay, section 2.2 should include a note, automatic transmissions. It states vehicles raced with automatic transmissions defined as a transmission with a torque converter should deduct 75 points from the value listed. I think it's a wording issue.
If they want us to add torque converter, I'm fine with that, because I think people are getting at the DSGs.
Yeah.
They're worried about those slipping in and people calling them automatics because the computer controls the manual clutch. DSGs we need to add to the book is not being allowed as a torque converter. Automatic. It needs to be a torque converter slush box sort of thing. So we can do that. That's an easy fix with typo.
Okay. Regarding the foreign engine rule, which I guess JDM or
European domestic market.
Yeah. How will the 3% be enforced?
We're just going to look up online.
And somebody said, which I agree, the petition should have numbers, not page numbers, but the actual petition should have.
Duly noted. I'll fix that for you next year, everybody.
Okay.
Agreed. Well, I'll vote yes.
Yes. All in favor?
Yeah. It was confusing to us as well.
All right. Regarding oil coolers, is there going to be a clarification regarding free, capitalized, free, power steering coolers as a safety driver comfort item?
Explain to me how power steering coolers are safety and or driver comfort.
Power steering is
Power
driver
steering
comfort.
is the big argument.
But the power steering cooler is not driver comfort.
But power steering is underneath the cool. I'm not for. I don't care. We don't have to.
I do. I think the word is reliability, and I think that is the issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's addressed.
What they're saying is, on the form is, you can add power steering for free, but if you put a cooler on power steering, it's 20 points.
Yeah, that's
what they're saying.
I think the reason we can add power steering for free is because almost every car that we'll see, except for stuff really old in the 70s, power steering was an option. It may have, your car that you bought may have come with a manual box, but there was an option for a power steering car. So if you put it on your car, it was OEM, it's free points. Now if you want to put the OEM power steering on the car, it didn't come with the power steering cooler, and you find that your steering system is getting hot, it's spewing over, so you want a cooler on it, that's where there's going to have to be points, because that wasn't a factory option. Right.
And does that affect?
You covered it, like I say, that instance was, it was a factory option, it came with a factory type cooler, that cooler is free. If you change to another cooler, it's going to be points.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody mentioned you can take and put an entirely different system, like an electric system.
Yes.
Or something on a car for driver comfort at no points. That had been done once.
And that Phil had a conversation with somebody about that, and it's really, Phil needs to be involved in it. He's not here because we all need to know what he said and what his intentions are in it, since he's the head of tech. And then whatever it is, it needs to be published, black and white in the rule book so everybody understands it.
He was just saying you could put an entire different system on a car and be nothing, but you add a different cooler to your system and it's points.
Correct.
Okay, Chris asked regarding radiators, why not 2x rule for those?
2 by what?
2 times rule for radiators.
2 radiators.
Why not submit a petition so we can study it?
And some OEM radiators are like 4 times. So
people are asking if I'm sleeping.
Can you get to the questions? Because I'm sure the track would like to lock their doors tonight and go home.
Yes. Regarding customers.
Take one more good question. It's on Bill Strong to pick the best question left here. As always,
there's a lot of text here.
Any other questions can always come to board at ChampCar.org or info@ChampCar.org,
Right,
and we'll be happy to
let me-
address them.
Back to a lot of questions about the dry brakes.
Not the moment.
No. Winter packages, whatever that means. Okay, that's good. I think we're done. If you guys have any questions, to the board.
Yeah.
Do you all have any questions that we didn't answer?
They want to know what's for dinner.
It's dinner time, that's right.
That's right. Guys, thank you so much for coming out here. I hereby adjourn this meeting officially. And Thanks for everybody coming, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Really need more beverage.
Yeah. We had a lot of questions.
You didn't do the story. Yes.
That we're in, so.
That was in Gresham Motorsports about 2 months ago.
You didn't bring a bucket of beers with
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, they're in my truck.
It got me thinking.
If you guys send your questions in, or just post them up on here, we'll go through and send them to the board to have them reviewed again. Thank you very much, folks. I'm sorry we hit our time limit for the track. They need to go home and we need to get out of this room. So thank you very much, and we will see you guys tomorrow on ChampCar.live on Facebook, and as we get set up for this weekend's national championship race. All right, thank you. Have a good night.